Good evening. Let's go ahead and call to order. In compliance with Open Public Meeting Law of New Jersey, notice of this February 25th, 2026 meeting of the Millburn Township Board of Education was posted electronically on the district website and provided on February 22nd, 2026 by sending notices to the Millburn Short Hills Item, the Star Ledger, the Millburn Short Hills Independent Press, and the Township Clerk, along with posting at the Ed Center. Would you all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I would love to get a motion and a second to approve the minutes listed in the agenda. Thank you, Mr. Bigman. Mr. Casson? Roll call, please.
Ms. Wong?
Yes.
Ms. Longley Richards?
Yes to 1 and 2, 3 abstain or recuse.
Mr. Bigman?
Yes.
Mr. Casson?
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin?
Abstain?
Ms. Speltz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. We are going to start with the presentations.
Great. All right, so we have a couple of presentations tonight too that are formally presented, and also we have a special guest that's going to be with us here, who is the winner of our National School Bus Safety Poster Award Contest. So she will be with us shortly. So we're going to start with the first presentation, and then when she comes, we may take a little bit of a break, have her be introduced, and then continue. So the first is required by the state of New Jersey. It is the School Safety Data System, or HIB, public presentation that talks a little bit about HIB and what we do to prevent incidents and to help in the safety and well-being of all students.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit about our HIB. This will be a little bit of a refresher for the board and the community, as we did report out on this in the fall, and then I will do the required SSDS reporting out, which we have to do twice a year, once in the first half of the year and once in the second. As a reminder, we are reporting for anything that took place between September 1st through December 30th, 2025, and then we start the second cycle, which we are in now, which we'll report out in next fall. So just to, as a quick overview of our anti-bullying specialists, these are the individuals that are responsible in each building for the role of anti-bullying specialist, which is basically the person that is responsible for, initially fielding any allegations of HIB. They tend to conduct the investigation and then turn over that information to the building principals. And as you can see, each building has a designated primary anti-bullying specialist. One change that we did make for this year was we certified additional staff members to serve as like secondary anti-bullying specialists. And those may take the form of guidance counselors in the building, additional administrators in the building, so that in the event that we ever had a bigger incident that occurred, we'd have more hands to be able to assist with the investigation. So what is the definition of HIB? The state of New Jersey defines that pretty clearly for us. The harassment, intimidation, and bullying means any gesture, any written, verbal, or physical act or electronic communication, whether it be a single incident or series of incidents, And then it's defined by the following, and we call them prongs. But prong 1 is a reasonably perceived as being motivated either by an actual or perceived characteristic, such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, expression, or a mental, physical, or sensory disability by any distinguishing characteristic, and that's a very important, prong 2, that takes place on school property at school-sponsored functions or on a school bus or off school grounds, and that substantially disrupts or interferes with the orderly operation of the school or the rights of another student, and then prong 4, you'll notice, has 3 aspects to it, any one of which can create prong 4 or eligibility under prong 4. A reasonable person should know under the circumstance that the act will have the effect of physically or emotionally harming student or damaging the student's property or placing a student in reasonable fear of physical, emotional harm to his person or damage to his property, or the act has the effect of insulting or demeaning any student or group of students, or the act creates a hostile educational environment for the student by interfering with the student's education or severely, pervasively causing physical or emotional harm to the student. What is really important for us to recognize in HIB is that in order for it to meet the definition of HIB based on the statute, it must meet all 4 prongs. If we do not find that the prong is met, then it is not meeting the definition of HIB and would not constitute HIB. What is HIB versus code of conduct? Often we get confused a little bit with this, but I just walked through what HIB is. Student code of conduct might be, you might go through much of the same process, right? Where bullying, we define as bullying, very specific definition, should not be used to describe all conflict and rises to the level of the state definition because you've met the prongs. Where code of conduct may not meet all of those prongs, but still might be a violation of our student code of conduct and our student handbook, and therefore we would handle it. In both situations, we are handling it at the school level and making recommendations for, remedial action to be taken place by the school, the administrator, the parent, etc. The process and procedures is very clear. There's a reporting mechanism. We have brought on Hibster. I'll touch on that in a minute. I did walk through that, earlier in the school year, but the HIB reporting forms are found on our websites. The school principal informs the parent after an allegation has been made. The anti-bullying specialist is assigned and investigates. The notification is made to the superintendent. Principals form an investigation form. The Board of Education meeting at number 1, they will review it. They've seen the information that has been presented and the recommendation that has been made by the principal to the superintendent, and then they will have a first read on it. The parent of the alleged victim or alleged aggressor may request a hearing here at the Board of Education in executive session, and that's before board meeting number 2. Once board meeting number 2 takes, then there's the action taken by the board, and then we send out notification letters. And the board's responsibility in this is to either affirm the recommendation or deny the recommendation and send it back potentially for some additional information before rendering a decision. What does it look like on our website? This is just a quick acknowledgement of the fact that this is on there's 2 quick links there that you can go to, and they'll take you right into our Hibster platform. And again, I've mentioned Hibster several times, but this is a comprehensive software tool that we brought on at the beginning of the school year. It's been very successfully used in many schools across the state of New Jersey, and it just really helps with the compliance aspect, allows for tracking of our information, and really makes it very easy for parents to be able to click onto the website, go right in and submit their information directly into the Hibster platform. And then conversely, our teachers that are serving as the anti-bullying specialists and our administrators can operate inside the Hibster platform to be able to manage the incident and notify the central office administration when it's ready to, a recommendation has been made on whether or not it's bullying or not. Okay, so that's a quick overview. And now we're going to get into our mandatory reporting, which is the Student Safety Data System, otherwise known as SSDS. I did mention earlier that this is a report that we are required by the state of New Jersey to do twice a year. And we just report out on all things around HIB, as well as violence and vandalism. So as I mentioned before, this reporting period is from September 1st through December 31st. And this report will include the total number of incidents reported at each school, the status of all investigations, the type of discipline that was imposed, and what training has been conducted or programs implemented to reduce harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Okay, in January 2018, Public Law 2017, Chapter 291 established requirements governing the use of restraints. So this is also part of this SSDS, the restraints that take place in our schools. And beginning in 2022-23, districts must collect this and report out. So what is a restraint? It's a physical restraint, personal restrictions that limit a student's ability to move, mechanical restraints, the use of a device or equipment to restrict movement, seclusions, involuntary confinement to of a student alone in a space. They cannot leave that, not including a timeout, and then a timeout monitored separation of a student in a non-locked setting to help them calm down. Sometimes we call those quiet rooms and things like that. And as you can see over here, we have a table with all of our schools, and we did have 13 restraints in South Mountain and 2 in Hartshorn. We did not have any others. And sometimes, many times, we'll see these come up due to the certain programs that they offer specific to those schools with students with special needs and things like that. We also report out on the violence and vandalism, and I will this is pretty straightforward. Any acts of violence, vandalism, substance abuse, or weapons or other. And note that at the high school was the only place and the middle school that had infractions. In the middle school, we had 2 incidents of violence and 1 other. And then at the high school, we had 1 incident of violence and 1 incident of vandalism. Reporting of HIB, again, kind of piggybacking on the beginning of this presentation, we had in our schools, you'll see the table on the side. You can see that we had at Glenwood, there were 2 alleged. You can see at Washington, there was 1 alleged. And at the middle school, there were 4 confirmed and 1 alleged. And so as you look, the nature of HIB could be anything from race and ethnic origin to gender identity, to any of the disabilities or distinguishing characteristics that are identified by the code, and then the types of remediation and discipline that are used as part of our program. Parent contact, obviously, is a major one. Student conference, support services, student counseling, referral for treatment and therapy, denial of privileges, lunch detention, and suspension are the standard types of discipline and remediation that are used in our schools. And then just, recapping as part of this report, we are required to report out on the training, anti-bullying specialist roles and responsibilities webinar. Our anti-bullying specialist has participated in. Additional professional development was offered through the school climate and culture improvement committees that are in each building, anti-bullying Bill of Rights, student conflict resolution, peer relationships, and social norms. And then we also did a school safety meeting and climate team meetings where they look at the data and the specific instances and have conversations about what they can do within their school to improve upon that. And those conversations take place at the school level. And then additionally, we have some professional development that we offered all of our anti-bullying specialists and administrators on September 18th and 19th. We did a review of our HIB protocols, which was a professional development that I ran for our district staff. And then again, on December 14th, we brought in Mr. John Comegno, and he did a full-day PD on Words Matter, navigating HIB, SSDS, and affirmative action. And that was a full presentation that was here in this room. And then just, we talked a lot about this in the last presentation, but I think that it's really important that in the first half of the year, we spent a lot of time with, building culture and climate within our buildings. And it would be in the month of October, the state of New Jersey has many programs that are what we call themed weeks: the Week of Respect, the Red Ribbon Week, and New Jersey School Violence Awareness Week, which all of our schools take part in. And then these are just, and I will not read through these because there are many, but this is just a sampling of the many programs that are either district supported, PTO supported, MEF supported, that are, in place this year, that have taken place across our schools, that are designed to help promote the right type of environment. And as we tie it all together, there's only one antidote to this, and it truly is respect for one another. So I appreciate your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to take them at this time.
Mr. Conley, in the first table that you showed, the physical restraint, there were 13 in South Mountain. I'm just trying to understand, is that like 13 instances where a student was limited because there was no ramp or something? Like that number kind of stuck out. To the extent you can elaborate, that would be very helpful.
So I can only elaborate a little bit for you on that, but they really has to do with the programs that we run within South Mountain School. And that number, if that program was in another school, you might have seen those numbers in another building. So it really is, it's specific to the type of programs. And so I think that's the majority of it.
Any other questions? I do have one. Just really quickly, in that first, I think also in that first chart, timeouts are listed.
Mm-hmm.
Are those considered a part of seclusion, or is that a separate category?
They are their own category.
Okay, and so those don't need to be reported out?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, they are reported out. Yes, timeouts are included in the seclusions.
Okay, all right,
Yes.
thank you.
I understand your point. Yeah.
Got it, thanks.
Yeah, I have a quick question. In terms of the change, compared with the prior years, is increase or decrease? I know it's, this reporting is September 2025 to December 25.
This is for for only the first half of the school year.
I know.
And so I think your question is that we're seeing an increase or decrease in the
Yeah,
trend?
compared with like a 2024. I'm just curious.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, I do not have that answer on the
okay.
top of my head, but I can certainly get that answer and report it back to you.
I mean, the number is very low. I'm just curious, Yeah, it's.
No, I just don't have it off the top of my head, but
yeah,
I
that's
can
okay. That's
certainly
okay.
track that
Yeah.
for sure.
Historically, the numbers haven't been substantially different, would you say?
I would say that they're in line with where they've been, but I don't quote me on
Perfect.
that.
Got it. Any other questions? All right, next presentation, please. Thank you.
All right, so this is one that Mr. Connolly and I are thrilled to be here tonight speaking to you about. And it sort of starts with all the work over the last few years. So we're going to talk a little bit tonight about our goals and how this aligns with the growth of our district and enrollment and our grading and assessment update. So John and I are going to share a little bit of this together. As you know, in one of our district goals is that we're going to enhance the academic culture. And we have been working on this for quite a few years, from when I was in the role of assistant superintendent and then moving through. So this has been a goal of the board for quite a while. And each year it gets a little bit better and we continue to grow on that. And so my message to this is we're not done yet. There's still room to grow, but we've come so far. We are very proud that this is the first year that Millburn High School has become the AP Honor Roll Platinum. And some people would say, well, what does that mean? Well, that means very specifically that we have had a growth in students that are participating in AP and doing extraordinarily well. So I'm going to show you for a moment that only 9% of the qualifying schools in New Jersey earn platinum status, and we are one of them, and 8% nationwide. So the students, the teachers, everyone deserves a huge shout out for this accomplishment. This is a huge accomplishment. So let's give them a nice round of applause. And you can see here some of our surrounding districts that are we are within good company. And then you can see those that received the gold as well. So we are among a handful of those, what we call an open access public comprehensive high school. That is different than what is starred there on the left-hand side, which are private schools. So, you know, we are a comprehensive, full comprehensive public high school that achieved that. So congratulations to everyone. And this shows one of the reasons why we did so well is you can see over the last, 5 years or so, the increase in the number of exams. And what's great about this is we went, say, in 2022 to 2023 from 1,521 exams with a 96% with a 3 or better. And we headed in 24-25 to 2,050. And this year, the anticipated exam is projected at 2,539. So that's a huge increase. And you'll notice that the percentage of students with 3 or better has not changed drastically. So we are anticipating that we will get the same, if not better, results. So, overall, that's a 100.04 increase from that 21 to 25 school year, which is the amount of time that we've been working on this project of increased access, opening up enrollment, giving kids that, challenged by choice, shall we say. And I just, we're going to talk about it more, but I do want to give a huge shout out to the high school administration and the high school teachers for, just sticking with us and just, it'll be okay. We'll work it out. We'll tweak some things. We'll move forward. This is in the best interest of the students and the community and of the district as a whole. So we are very proud that we were able to give access to more students and more benefits. So that's a great analysis right there. And I just wanted to touch upon sort of where we've been for the last 3 years and 2 years and then continuing forward. We've looked at in 2024, we looked at that assessment and grading guidelines, and we really put pen to paper in terms of what we were going to have students do. Prior to that, as you saw on the other slides, we were increasing access. We took away qualifiers. We took away those barriers, shall we say, that prohibited kids from getting into those courses. We've changed pathways. I mean, there's so much that has gone into this that this slide doesn't even tell half the story, but it tells the great story that we have made progress in that assessment and grading guidelines in terms of increasing student enrollment, giving those students those chances that they deserve. And then this year in 25-26, we looked at the assessment redesign and design of what are we doing in our assessments and how do they align with that grading and assessment. And we took looks at our staff members and our directors and our supervisors and our teachers, really diving deep into doing some item analysis, looking at what are common assessments, what are the formats that we're giving them, redesigning those questions to make them, more student-centered, shall we say, and then making sure that our questions are aligned to the standards that we are teaching. I will note that our strategic planning also helps to frame our mission and our vision of where the district is going with this. And this is just really a wonderful sort of caption of where we plan to go. And then in 26-27, we will continue to look at the assessment and grading guidelines, the assessment design and redesign, and now we're going to take a look at those instructional practices. So the symbolism here is that it is a cyclical cycle. You really shouldn't, I put the numbers, we put 24, 25, et cetera, just to show you where the last 3 years have focused with us, but this will be a common cycle that we will go through continuously. This does not end in 26-27. The continuum of the circle will to be redundant, continue through. And we will make sure that we are always revising, adjusting, tweaking, looking at data, figuring out where our kids are best served, and what do the teachers need to help to support this venture with our students. So we're looking to make sure that our instructional practices are aligned with our assessment practices. We're really taking a deep dive into that data and using the data to drive our instructional needs. And we're looking at those NJSLA or NJSLS, our AP, our dual enrollment has now been added. We'll look at the Millburn approved pathways in the curriculum, and then we will revisit that Millburn instructional mindset with that. So, I'm very happy to say that everyone working together on a great team made all of this happen. And the great news is that it doesn't end with today. It doesn't end with 26, 27. It will be an ongoing practice. So right now, Mr. Connolly is going to talk a little bit about the great news in terms of our alignment with our increased enrollment and our grades. I think overall, you will notice that with our increased enrollment and our access to the upper level classes, you will see that our grades either increased, stayed the same. There are always going to be a few areas what we need to identify to get a little bit better in, but overall, it shows the success of what we've been doing for the last 3 and more years. So, John?
Thank you, Dr. Diskin. So before we get into this slide and really talk about what this slide's showing us, there's just a couple of things that I want to say. Many of the presentations that we've done over the course of this year feed into this work. So when we presented on the different pathways and different presentations about access and opening up pathways, and the term that I've been throwing out, the academic maturity level, right, where we're creating those on-ramps for students when they're ready, it is yielding itself in this slide here, as you can see, where we were in 23-24 before we started much of this work, or it really had a chance to take hold. And now you're looking at 25-26, and you're saying, look, we've increased the AP access. We may see a small dip in our accelerated access because some of those students have moved to the AP level now and maybe would not have had that opportunity before, right? You're also seeing a decrease in our CP level because some of those students moved up. You don't see much change really in our CPB level, and that might be because those students really need what the CPB level really offers for their specific academic needs. But what we are seeing is that 36.4% of our students in 23-24 were taking an AP level class, right, or an accelerated class, with 63% in that college level, college prep level. Where now we're at 45% of our students in some sort of accelerated path, whether it be AP or Excel, and looking at 54% of our students taking that college prep. So what we, the big takeaway here is that this is showing the growth in our access to some of our higher level courses where previously students may not have been afforded those opportunities. And that's something that I think we should be very proud of. The other thing I just want to talk a little bit about is, like, what does this represent? We are representing here just our core classes, and that's a super important thing. I could have gone into all the electives that are here, and these numbers may look even more different, right? So we really focused in on demonstrating what are the core classes that the majority of our students are taking throughout their time here in Millburn. So there's some really great success stories here, and this just kind of amplifies or exemplifies the AP enrollment. And so if you look at just these are 12 of our AP courses that I'm going to call core courses, right? And if you look at 9 of the 12 saw 104% increase over the course of that time. Amazing. The other most important thing is we did not see a slip in our student performances, which is great. So we actually, we marginally moved up at 1.9%. But again, we were stable. And if you look at some of those numbers, they're staggering. 174% increase, 154% increase, 128% increase. I mean, these are some big numbers where we're really expanding that growth. So And all of this is possible because when you go back to that wheel that Dr. Diskin had on there, this starts with the grading and assessment guidelines. It starts with the access. It starts with us re-looking at these pathways and saying, how can we, rethink what we are doing here in Millburn to provide that access. Some highlights here, AP Bio and AP History, right? 171.8% from 39 students to 106 students. Amazing in that time. AP History, 154% increase, 57 to 145 students. That's just tremendous growth over this time. But what you are going to see now, right, it's going to look like our enrollment, our course enrollment, very important, right? Our course enrollment starts to shift, and it's really not a decline, it's really a shift in where students are going. And that's really important when you're looking at these data tables to recognize that we're seeing a shuffling of the deck, and we're seeing students move around and where they might have been placed. So this in the accelerated, you're seeing some drops here. And I want to just highlight here, like the British literature is a direct result, that Excel British literature crest is a direct result of us opening up the access to the AP Lang and the AP Lit. And so if you go back a slide, you'll look at where that enrollment, jumped up by 83% and 83% or 77% in the comp, the Lit comp, and the Lang was 94%. So that shift is a result of students being, that may not have taken that course, they're now having the opportunity to take those courses. If you look at the CP, again, you're seeing a drop in those course enrollments. But what I want you to see is, so one thing to point out here is that many of those students moved up and are taking those higher level classes, but look at what the red line represents. That's the growth in our grades. Right? So we are taking some of the students that are challenging themselves by choice, but we're still seeing a growth in our median averages across those courses, which is amazing. So we know there are obviously some dips. And look, the one thing that you really need to point out here is that we are not comparing cohorts. And that's a super important thing, right? We're looking at classes. This class comes in. So every class has its own makeup, its own demographic. And so that, it's hard to compare apples and oranges. But, for the purposes of what we're seeing, we also have to take into account class sizes and things like that as they come through. And that does have a little bit of an impact on some of this data. But the overall big takeaways here are that we are shifting students from one place to another, and we're still seeing positive results. And then in our CPB level, also, you're seeing a decline in some of those courses. You're seeing grades go up. And again, some of that's due to students taking the opportunities to go into some other classes that they may not have had the opportunity to take down the road. So again, these are bird's eye views of some of our core classes. So we can get into a little bit more of what does it look like in semester one, and that's what this table represents. So if you look at the top part of the table, you're looking at 2023, 2024, and this is our grade distribution all the way across. So you're looking at, most people's eyes are going to go to that A and A minus range, but if you look in there and you're looking at those buckets of A and A minus, you're seeing tremendous growth in our students, right? And a lot of that is part and parcel to the grading and assessment guidelines. Much of it has to do with the way we're looking at assessments and our instructional practices. So we're seeing better performances, and we're paying much more attention to our student outcomes, which is really important, right? With the focus on giving our students the best opportunity to build that college resume, so that they have the best opportunities to go to the schools that they can go to. So, but there's just tremendous growth. And look, one could point and say, not everybody's growing at the same rate. Yes, we recognize that. And we're going to continue to focus on those things, and we're going to continue to emphasize our practices here. But there are really great things going on, and every single department has seen tremendous growth, right? No matter at what rate it is. And sometimes it's just harder to make movement in with some content areas because of the content in and of itself that just makes it a little bit more difficult. But here's what it looks like. We kind of looked at it in some different ways. I think it just further amplifies where our students are falling. But, again, just tremendous growth in our distribution of students across the board. And then this is just kind of, really looking into, some of our core classes. And this looks at just another way to look at it. It's a little bit of a little bit more data here. But looking at, obviously, we did not have the AP World before, so that 0 represents the class just wasn't there. But we have, great growth in all of these courses in the dark blue. AC History up 3%. We have the CPA down a couple points. But you're looking on the other side, the other column with the median grade growth. So where we went up or down, everything is positive, though, as far as grade growth. And so, this is really putting our students in the best possible position for success down the road. And then this just kind of buckets the big areas, the big core classes in social studies. Again, just another way to look at it as we're being consistent throughout the presentation. Here's our math department. Again, great growth here as well. And again, looking at cohorts, we're not looking at cohorts, we're looking at classes. So it's not the same students here, but what you are seeing is obviously the growth in those accelerated classes and, very stable grades, even where we dip down, it's stable. At 1.1% on a couple of classes that went down. But some of that is due to increased enrollment as well. And so when you're giving more students access, more students are challenging by choice, and they're going to, be really working hard to get those grades. And again, this is just our distribution. But again, look, basically 40% of our students are getting in the A's in some of those upper level classes. Obviously, our Algebra 1, those students are, certainly working really hard, and we're going to continue to focus in that area as well. And then as we go into science, we've seen great growth in our integrated chemistry and earth science classes with great growth in the accelerated level, and then also, yielding great results in their median grades. But again, very stable grades as we're seeing the growth grow. And we continue to, kind of dial in on areas where we need to continue to focus on. But this is tremendous for our school district and our students. And then this is the distribution by buckets. And then in our English department, I think it's been well noted, we've seen great growth in this department as well. And again, when you look at the British literature, that is large in part, the enrollment shift is really due to the expanded opportunities. And again, that is a common theme throughout this presentation, is that when you see these dips in some of your CPA and your Excel, it's because of the opportunities that students are taking with the AP or the accelerated level classes. And again, our buckets, again, some great distributions there for our students. And so what are our bright spots? As we kind of, tie this presentation together, 9 of 10 AP core courses saw enrollment increases, with seeing slight to moderate median grade increases. Assessment and grading guidelines have yielded more access to advanced level coursework, as I've noted before. 42 of 62 courses saw a 67% increase. The grading assessment guidelines, which include the reteaching, the test corrections for summatives, extension activities, have had a positive impact on our students in the core classes. Assessment design and redesign is yielding overall better results, as demonstrated here in semester 1, and the median grades improved in the AP courses across almost every course that we have there. What is our action plan as we continue to look at this as an iterative process? The assessment design and redesign is a lengthy process that requires data to support change. You can't do this work overnight. As much as we'd like it to be done quickly, it's time consuming. It really takes a lot of time to shift practices and to kind of implement these changes for a sustainable change. Teachers are continuing to share best practices about instruction with our supervisors and our directors about assessment, pacing, design, and instruction. We're going to incorporate common assessment practices across course levels, align assessments with the NJSLS, and the district-approved curriculums, evaluate student performance on assessments to make data-driven instructional decisions. And then, obviously, we want to bring more consistency to the reteaching, the corrections, the extensions. I mean, that's really important. I think that's an area that we can continue to grow in and get better at. And then just moving forward, we talked a little bit about some of this, but to continue our work on the work that we've been doing with that's involved with the assessment design. We want to analyze student performance on formative and summative assessments to help drive that instruction. And then for next year, we're going to be looking more at the guidelines and what changes we can make to the grading guidelines. We have some things in the works that we are working with some teachers and administrators across the high school. We're going to continue to integrate and utilize AI to aid teachers to differentiate and support learning. We are going to be addressing the academic integrity and how that plays into all of this framework. That's super important. We're very excited to launch the dual enrollment and what new opportunities that brings us and new advanced level opportunities that it provides our students. And then intentional professional development designed to support our teachers, and they need to be provided the tools and the resources to be successful. We cannot expect them to be successful if they haven't been given the tools to be able to do that. So we'll continue to, be intentional about that professional development to support them in the classroom, which in turn supports our students. And then, as we talk about AI, right? AI does wonderful things. And so AI created this great image of our presentation, but this is a really as I'm selling this, if you look at the work, the foundation, right, is really with this assessment and grading guidelines that we put in place 24 months ago, 18 months ago, wherever that falls, right? And then the other part of that is where we've gone this year, that assessment, design, and redesign work. And then if you really look at what our pillars are, what are we trying to do? We're trying to increase the access. And as a result, we're seeing those shifts in enrollments in different places. The other pillar here is to improve performance. That's really important, and that's a focus. And we want to do those things simultaneously. And that's a big task, but I think this presentation is evidence that we are doing that. And we're building a foundation to really hold up that house. And, that roof is our future, right? And we're reimagining what Millburn High School is going to look like. We want to maintain our rigor. We want to maintain our status, whether it be the AP Platinum status or, just our rankings along the way. But more importantly, that we are providing the best possible experience for our students and giving them the best opportunities for future success. But none of this is easy. And, the Ruth Bader Ginsburg quote, "Real change, enduring change happens one step at a time." And I think that kind of sums this up, and it's stuff that we are doing. And then, but none of it is possible without our teachers, our supervisors, our directors, our administrators deserve a tremendous amount of credit for their commitment. This is not easy on how they're going to reimagine how to improve our student experience, maintain a high level of instruction, improve student performance, all while maintaining Millburn's status as a top-tier public school. And with that, we will take some questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to add also, when we stood up here 24 months ago, we talked about that growth mindset and that students having the opportunity to challenge themselves. And we give that credit to our teachers, right? It's not as a result of just grade corrections, right? That's false narrative, right? It's as a result of teachers working with students, reteaching things that they may not have understood, giving them the opportunity to continue learning, right? And so, I stand here today to say that our teachers deserve that big shout out. And if you really look at this information, you've done an amazing job at encouraging our students to continue learning and never stop. So that's definitely a mission of Millburn.
Thank you both, and thanks to all the administrators, staff, and everyone else for making these results possible. Any questions or comments? Ms. Wang.
Yeah, and actually I have two questions and a little bit of comments, just my personal opinions. So the first quick question is we use the median grade comparison and between 2023-24 various this year. And so this grade is a class grade, if I understand correctly.
Correct. It's a semester 1 grade, right?
Yeah, but we know that the grading system changed.
And that's actually a great point. I'm glad you raised that. So,
Yeah, I just, yeah, just quick question. Maybe you can, we can, analyze more, later. Because
so it's intentional why we chose 2023 and 2024, and that was an intentional design of this presentation, right? Because we wanted to see what the growth was from prior to having any of the grading and assessment guidelines in place and any of the work that really took place to what does it look like now. And so, the purpose of this was really to say, are we moving in the right direction? Are we continuing to grow as a district and, with our instructional and assessment practices? So the only true measure to be able to look at that was to look at when we didn't have it and where we do have it now. But I'm happy to answer
maybe
more.
I misunderstand, but my understanding is, we want to compare the grade with, then we need to understand the grade itself, the definition is considered, but we can discuss. It's just a quick question. I think another one is just a general comment. I think I think when we implement the new grading policies, and I think it's based on the educational framework. It's called the growth mindset of learning. The educator Joe Feldman. So the key point, the core part of this education framework or philosophy is, as Dr. Diski mentioned, is growth mindset of the learning. So we want to foster students to learn from their mistakes. So I understand we have. I know it's not question easy to answer. It needs lots of the data, or also need to some time to monitor, to adjust it. I'm very happy that things mentioned that even for the grading self, you and the teachers are keeping, get feedback, or maybe adjustment. But I think my key question is, we need to go back to this because it's education philosophy, right? Framework. So how can we measure the growth mind of learning? Or what's the objective or standardized to let teachers or students, especially students, know they foster, got the growth mind of learning. So I think I understand this is it's just questions, and I hope my fellows and of course administrators, teachers, and can it's not easy, and it's this data time, lots of the feedback, adjustments. But I think that's sometimes we may need to answer these core questions, and we need to use objective measures to answer these core questions. That's just my comment, because it's a foundation, and it will have a long-term impacts, and also, that's.
So I think your question's great, and I understand where you're coming from, and I totally appreciate where you're coming from. I think it's really important to remember that we are dealing with students and not widgets, right? So it's really hard to manufacture an exact science for whether or not the reteaching is working, right? And a lot of this is teacher feedback, and their feedback is an important data point. Student feedback is an important data point as well. So, but we're going to continue to measure that, and we're going to continue to ask those questions of our teachers.
I understand that. I mean, it's more like, I'm very happy that things mentioned, work with teachers, students, and so but it's, but of course, very appreciate the effort, more provide more opportunity for students, but it's just my.
No, your
think
question
that's
is well put, and it's an important one. So.
And I don't know whether I think the third questions. I know, for example, we expand the AP accesses to students, right? For example, before the classes is maybe 30 or 40. Now we expand to 100 or close to 200 students. Like for some, I understand some pretty advanced AP classes. So from my understanding that the how can I say, the academic maturity or academic readiness for the student's body compared with prior years, it's a fact. It's may not that homogeneous. So it could pose challenges. I mean, it's a fact, challenge for teachers, actually also for students. So I think that's just to say, when teachers, when they teach a more homogeneous student body, that's maybe different. The teaching experience or actual learning experience may be a difference. It's just, I want to
Yeah,
bring
and I
this
just
to
wanted to kind of summarize this by saying that our goal here, and the Board of Education's goal and the community's goal, was to increase access to give students additional opportunities. We know that in our classes, no matter what class you're in, we need to differentiate, right? So we can't just teach to those kids, we have to teach to all of our kids together. So I think that this is a tribute to the hard work that we've done. I think that students have done an amazing job with this as well, and we look forward to continuing with this. Asa?
Mr. Verschoon?
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I want to thank all the teachers and administrators and the program committee for the multi-year effort. I think the data is already there. If you look at it, Mr. Conley showed it. 3 times as many students are taking APs. They're still getting 5s. Our kids are consistently scoring the highest in the state in the average GPA, in the average SAT and ACT scores. I think, frankly, the grades are simply catching up to what their proficiency is. I think the data is eminently evident for anyone who opens their eyes. Our kids are getting 5s on the AP. They're knocking it out of the park, and they are consistently scoring the highest SAT and ACT of any schools in the state. So what's wrong with the grades catching up with that? Thank you all for doing this work.
Thank you. Ms. Shivani?
Yeah, to add to that, I mean, we have the evidence. We are in the AP Platinum category now. So we've increased the access, and our students are doing equally well, are doing actually really well. So, I mean, we're in the AP Platinum category. The data is there, as Mr. Farashuddin was saying.
Ms. Longley-Richards?
Yes, I agree. That was kind of what I had written down. The proof is in the numbers. Anyone who accused us of somehow harming the district or taking down in rankings, I think this has just proved that our kids can do it. We took the bet on our children, and our children win in this round. I love that we're going to have iterative, continuous growth. It's part of a growth mindset. It's healthy for not just our students, it's healthy for our district at every level. And I just did want to point out that when we first talked about increasing access, I was the one who posed the question, are we okay with a student getting a 2 on an AP exam? Are we okay with opening it up to allow any kid to have the opportunity? We didn't have any 2s. We've increased our scores. So our kids can do it. We need to continue to let them. Thanks everyone for their work.
Thank you. Mr. Finkelstein?
Yeah, I just want to thank the administration as well as the teachers, and Mr. Connolly and his team for all the hard work they've done. I think what's really exciting, is the focus on the data, which is something board members have been saying for a while now, is to look at the data and work with the data. And I think they've really, from what I've seen, really embraced that. And they're coming up with the conclusions and the determinations and what should be evaluated on a really data-focused, data-first approach, which has been really refreshing and great to see. And the work has been, incredible, as other board members have said. I mean, this 100% increase in AP exams, and it probably goes up again next year with the undergraduate, or the underclassmen AP opportunities, AP seminar, increasing AP World, and some of the other AP classes we're adding. So that number is going to go up even higher in 26, 27, which is also sort of incredible. So, yeah, it's really, it's great to see the numbers. And I know 24, 25 wasn't in the presentation, but I don't know, Mr. Connolly, if you could just say just a general statement. I understand why 23, 24 makes more sense, but if you could just say, I know some people have asked.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think that's a great point. So we strategically chose to go 23, 24 when there was no corrections, and look at that as a baseline for where we were. last year, it was an implementation year, right? And so, teachers were just learning how to really kind of adopt this and implement this grading and assessment guidelines, which incorporated reteaching, test corrections, and things like that. So after a year of them really having the ability, we thought this was a much more realistic approach for where we are. And, we are stable. We're essentially stable. We saw some increases in places, and we saw maybe slight decreases in places, but overall, we were stable. And that was, that was great for, looking at last year's implementation data to this year. And, the idea is really, are we moving in the right direction? And I think that the evidence is overwhelmingly that we are growing our student opportunities and their success rate. And, you're going to see in any metric, you're going to see dips down there. But if you go back to just these charts, right, any of the dips are so small, right? I mean, they're so small. And look, I'm not going to say if it's 1% up, it's good, right? If it's 1% down, it's not good. But at the end of the day, we're there. And I think that's the thing that we want to look at. So that's kind of the reason why we chose not to do the 24 data.
Yeah, and I would just, one more thing, just add on to that this isn't just about test corrections making this work. This is about the work done with pathways. This is the work done with teachers. This is the real work that we need to take a look at and diving deep into that information, into that data, and see what we have. So this is about the story that our teachers took the opportunity to help our students, and what great, camaraderie and what great teamsmanships that is to really dig in and to help benefit our students in the best way. So for those teachers that are watching, kudos to you for taking this on. So
I'd like to read, Mr. Lawrence can't be here tonight, but he sent a message he wanted me to share. The expansion of AP Access is meaningful and well aligned with our equity and access goals. It is particularly encouraging that median grades have held steady or improved despite increased enrollment. The continued focus on assessment design, common assessments, and reteaching appears to be yielding measurable results, and ongoing monitoring will be important as access continues to expand. Mr. Casson.
Thank you. I'm very much impressed with a lot of the progress that was made in access. I love the upcoming plans for dual enrollment, and I love the objective numerical analysis that has gone into a lot of the work here, especially the AP access. It's very clear, that's demonstrative, and you can see the results right there. You can see the results in standardized tests and comparing to prior years. I do have one concern, which is comparing to a baseline of the 2023-2024 school year, is comparing to like history, right? So I would be interested in seeing in a supplemental or future presentation, not a comparison to Millburn's past, but our peer schools present, to see that we're normal. I understand there was an effort for grade normalization. I understand that was part of the goal, the concern that we weren't bringing people up, we were bringing people down, and that was part of the goal the board addressed and the administration addressed in the policies that were adopted in the new grading policies 18 to 24 months ago. So I'd like to see what that looks like in terms of results, not comparing, and I'm looking at like 75% A rates in several categories, and that's a lot of high A's, and that could be well earned. You could be totally right about that. But I'd have a lot more confidence in those numbers if I could see not the comparisons to what we were doing, before, but what other peer districts are doing now. And I don't know if you can get that data. I have no idea.
I was just going to answer. We were just going to answer that.
Yeah.
Data is very individualized to a school district, right? And so, despite having reached out to folks, lots of people aren't willing to share that information necessarily, but we do have sort of comparable data in our college acceptance rates, our SAT, ACT, all of those types of things, our AP scores. Those are the things that we can measure across districts. We can't, they're not going to, well, we're sharing it publicly, right?
Right.
But not a lot of districts do that. So
Yeah,
it
that's-
might not be something we can get our hands on. We've tried, but, you know.
That's fair, and I understand that, and I understand that actually that's an issue I would like to see New Jersey work on to help all school districts improve in sharing data so that we can help students across districts. But but you're right. I can see very clearly where we're successful on standardized tests, acceptance rates, AP exams, and things like that. When I compare an A from 2025, 2026 to an A from 2023, 2024. I can't really evaluate that. I can't evaluate what's fair, what's right, what's appropriate, and so to an extent, any effort can be made to try to get that data, even if it's not I don't believe there'll be a perfect answer to this question, but if there's some schools or some places, Princeton or whatever, that someone who opens it up and you can secure the data and we can just see the comparisons, how we look on that spectrum. Are we curving out correctly? Are we putting the right emphasis? Relative to our standardized test scores and our relative to our other achievements. Are we in the right place? Is a Millburn A, or a New Jersey A, a top level New Jersey school A? I guess that's the way I would frame the question.
And those are all fair questions. And I think the other thing to just keep in mind is something I mentioned earlier, is just about like every group of students is different and has a different makeup and ability to perform on some of these. So it is subject to the cohort a little bit too, but I understand your point. And if we can get that data and we can make some comparisons, we can do that. The good news is as we brought some of our new supervisors in and they're coming from other districts, they are bringing some of that knowledge in with them. And so that's very helpful, right? And that anecdotal information that they bring and insight that they're bringing into our curriculum development and some of the work that we're doing here is certainly playing a factor in helping us make decisions moving forward.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and just on that, when we did start this process, we reached out to schools to ask them, what percentage or whatever, and they said, well, what are yours? And that was really telling. Yeah, like ours were low in comparison.
Yeah, no, I can see the numbers that were presented in 23 and 24 semester one compared to where we are now, and you can see a staggering difference in the data set. But you can see you could potentially, if you wanted to, see problems on both ends of the spectrum,
Yeah.
and a need to normalize somewhere in between. But I'm mindful of the different objectives. Mental health, open access is, to me, the highest and most important objective, which is that we make it so that we have challenging coursework and more availability. And again, I truly love the efforts on the AP, the dual enrollments, the higher level curriculum, and the variety of pathways that are being done. So that all that work is amazing, and I think that all of that, it all stems together. Like you said before, Dr. Diskin, it is everything self-reinforces each other.
And our most important customers are at the table right in front here as our students. And we have to, give them every opportunity that they can. And they work very hard in Millburn.
Yeah,
So
they do.
that Millburn is not to be, that A in Millburn is not to be slighted in any means, in terms of their accomplishments. So it's just now mirroring what their capabilities are overall. So.
Yeah. And that's all I'd like to see. Like comps will help validate that statement, but I believe that statement. I can infer that statement. I see how hard the kids work, but I would like to be able to objectively test that statement.
Sure.
Thank you. Mr. Bigman, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I'll be quick. I didn't want to be the only person not to say something or not to provide compliments. And hopefully your compliments aren't complete or full yet, because I just wanted to add that I think the level of transparency that you've provided to the board, to the teachers, to the community is really a reinforcing activity, because it builds trust and everybody could have confidence in the system. And that's really what I get out of it, because there's a lot of data there. I think it's actually a very useful tool for parents and students to look at that data, to digest it, because it means something different to each family, each student. But I will compliment you that that level of transparency, I don't know if that exists in every district. And I think it really helps when you talk about collaboration with teachers, because I think the teachers are really the ones that are listening to the community, listening to the administration. But as, Asaf said, everybody's kind of said, we're walking the walk, we're talking the talk, we're doing everything that is happening. It may not be perfect, but I don't know if anything's ever really perfect in this world, and maybe it just takes time. But the fact that you have that effort and that mindset is really something that makes me proud, not only to be on the board, but also to be a member of this community. So thank you very much.
Thank you for that phenomenal presentation. Oh,
Sorry.
I was ready to move on, so
All
let's
right,
do
now we
that.
got some showtime.
Here's a really fun one.
All right, so I'd like to take this moment and welcome up and recognize Arna Padri, who is here tonight. You can say a few words in a moment. But she participated in the National School Bus Safety Poster Contest, creating an original poster inspired by the theme Safety First, Always. This is a statewide contest, by the way, and a national competition that invites students from public and private schools to create original artwork promoting safe school bus behaviors. These students complete at grade divisions, and the posters are judged on safety, impact, originality, artistic quality, and visual impact. And that is a beautiful visual impact for sure. Winning entries at the state level advance to the national competition, where top honors are awarded in each division. So I'm thrilled to share that this young lady earned first place at the state competition and third place nationally in Division 3 in grades 6 through 8. So just to know that to place in a national level is huge, extraordinary accomplishment. And so you should be very, very proud. We are proud of you. Would you like to say a few words on your?
Hi, my name is Arna Padri. I'm an 8th grader at Millburn Middle School. My poster was about safety first, safety always, which was the ongoing theme at the NJSTS poster competition. I wanted my poster to represent how we have to be safe on the bus. We have to respect the driver. We have to listen to the driver so that we can stay safe on the bus. And I wanted my art to show how you can be meaningful even using art. It's not just a tool for drawing. It's a tool for making an impact. Thank you.
For that you did. All right.
Your beautiful artwork may only be surpassed by what a lovely job you did up there, just presenting your story. Really well done, super proud, and beautiful colors, beautiful.
A quick comment. Yeah, congratulations. And also, I would like to say Millburn has the best art programs in the world. So congratulations. Also, I want to take this chance to say special thanks to our Director of Transportation, Tom. And I would thank you for your principle. You put our kids' safety as a top priority. That's top and top. So I would like to take the chance to say thanks to you and great job.
Tom, will you please stand up so we can wave? Yay. He and I were on the phone making sure that the buses could go during the snow and everything, so I appreciate his support as well. So thanks, Tom.
Thank you very much. In the spirit of safety and trying to get people out of here, I'm going to have a very short board president report. Just a couple of things. I would like to, just as a heads up, at the new business section, I would like to have a quick discussion amongst the board about snow days and the closure and the emergency days. So would love to have a chat about that. On a slightly different note, I did want to say we are really excited. Another topic coming up later tonight is the transportation agreement between the district and Springfield Genius Academy. We're incredibly pleased that that agreement has been reached. We truly appreciate SGA's dedication to the students and the families of the district and their prioritization of student safety and well-being. We really look forward to a long and prosperous working relationship with SGA. As we went through this process, I know the Board of Ed and the administration really appreciated the feedback and communication from families. We had a lot of really heartfelt messages through the process, and they communicated a lot of great information about the impact of decisions that were made, about possible alternatives, and the Board of Ed and administration considered every single one thoughtfully and carefully. We were really fortunate that an agreement was reached before we had to look at any kind of alternatives like that, but we really did thoughtfully consider every single message that came through. But what I will say on another note is that as a community, I would love for us to reaffirm our commitment to speaking civilly and thoughtfully. The employees of our district are professionals who are prioritizing the safety and education of our children. Foul language, name-calling, and threats will not be tolerated in any way. Strong feelings, passions, they can be communicated without resorting to disrespectful language. So let's make an effort to model the kind of behavior we'd like to see in our children. So that is my board report. Thank you very much. And Dr. Dustian.
Thank you, Ms. Bouts. Tonight I begin sort of on a somber note. Sadly, we've learned of 3 former employees that have passed, and I'd like to take a moment to recognize them and provide for a moment of silence. First, Helen Hansen, a confidential secretary in the business office and longtime Millburn resident, passed away on February 3rd. Helen retired in 2013 after 25 years in the district, serving both Wyoming School and the Education Center. Also, Van Tecklenburg, simply known as John Van, Director of Buildings and Grounds, passed away on February 12th. John retired in 2016 after 10 years in Millburn. John was instrumental in the oversight of several school building projects. And finally, Joe Capello served as business administrator in the late 1990s, has also passed away. I'd ask that everyone join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. I am pleased now and proud to share that Millburn High School has been named, as I said, in the honor roll, earning platinum distinction with the highest level awarded by the College Board. As I said, this recognition reflects both strong performance and broad access to rigorous coursework. 81% of our seniors took at least one AP exam. An extraordinary 96.2 earned a score of 3 or higher. More than half of our seniors took 5 or more AP exams during their high school career. By the numbers, Millburn High School offers 35 AP courses with 44 teachers delivering 127 sections. In the 24-25 school year alone, 686 students took 2,050 exams, with 88% scoring a 4 or higher and 63% earning the top score of 5. This achievement speaks to the dedication of our students and the outstanding work of our faculty in fostering a culture of academic excellence. And bring those kindergartners back on to school. We're waiting for them. Kindergarten registration opened this week and will close on April 1st. Please register your students. Even if you have a student currently in school in Millburn that's not a kindergartner, remember them. They want to be registered. This window also gives us an ability to take a look at our enrollment figures. So it is very important to not wait. Do it now so we can help to determine the number of sections we will need in the fall. Again, as I said before, spread the word to families, neighbors, knock on their doors, and make sure that their students are coming to Millburn in kindergarten. And spring musicals, our spring musical season is just around the corner, and tickets are officially on sale. These productions will showcase the incredible talent, dedication, and teamwork of our students, both on the stage and behind the scenes. I encourage our community to come out and support our performers. The arts are truly one of the highlights of the spring season in Millburn, and these shows never disappoint. Millburn Middle School will be presenting Anastasia on March 6th, 7th, and 8th. There are links on our website for the tickets. And Millburn High School will be presenting The Addams Family on March 13th, 14th, and 15th, and tickets are also available by clicking on the website. I will say our Millburn High School auditorium is ready for viewing. We're going to have a short little tours tomorrow at our Art Youth Month presentations, and then we're going to have a grand opening on the night of the play on March 13th. So we invite community and members and those that are coming out to see the play on March 13th around 6 p.m. More information will be following on that, but I just wanted to give that little plug there.
Thank you. That is wonderful, long-awaited news. With our board committee reports, program committee, Mr. Finkelstein.
Yes, thanks. We had 2 program meetings since the last board meeting. The first one was on, actually, no, this was Friday, February 12th at 2 p.m. Yes, Thursday the 12th. Thank you. Attendees were Ms. Speltz, substituting, and Mr. Bigman. Administrative staff there was Dr. Diskin and Mr. Connolly. Items for review were the SSDS report and presentation that was presented tonight. AP seminar clarification. During the January 30th program meeting, the committee had asked for additional information to be shared with parents and students regarding the new ELA course for 26-27. AP seminar. The CNI team shared with the committee the additional information that was sent home to parents and shared with students. Next, the World Language Honor Society High School. There were revisions to the World Language Honor Society criteria originally scheduled for implementation in 26-27. Will be taking effect this year in 25 and 26. The adjustments allow students to benefit immediately with no other impacts. There was approval of the 5th grade Spanish program, Senor Woolley. And again, that's for to support 5th grade Spanish instruction. There was next was the NJSLA and JGPA testing schedule. The CNI team recommended adjustments to the testing schedule based on community feedback and the increased length of the testing modules under the new exam. The revised plan will administer 1 test module per day. Semester 1 grades, the committee discussed Millburn High School's progress on grading and assessment practices, including plans to communicate this ongoing work through a public presentation, which we saw tonight. Updates on current CNI projects were shared with the committee and included grading and assessment, the ELA program review, and a waiver option at MHS for placement. The program committee approved the following agenda items, as I mentioned, the SSD report and the 5th grade Spanish curriculum. That's it for that meeting. And then the next meeting was Friday, February 20th at 2 p.m. Attendees were myself, Ms. Speltz as substitute, Mr. Bigman, and Ms. Longley Richards. Administrative attending, Dr. Diskin and Mr. Connolly. We reviewed the following agenda items. First, the high school waiver proposal. So as I just mentioned, we reviewed again. The committee, we reviewed a draft provided by the CNI department and the high school administration. The committee provided feedback, and further discussion will take place to finalize the procedure for the upcoming school year. Next, a comparison of course enrollment and grades for semester 1 between 23, 24, and 25, 26. The presentation that Mr. Connolly gave tonight, the committee provided feedback on the draft of the presentation. And there were no other items approved at this meeting. That concludes my remarks. Thanks.
Thank you. For the governance committee meeting, I believe Ms. Longley Richards is going to share them.
Okay, the governance committee met on February 10th at 5:30 p.m. Attending from the board were Ms. Spouts, Mr. Casson, and myself. For the administration, Dr. Diskin and Mr. Arlington were there. Mrs. Hecht was also there, our Public Information and Community Outreach Officer. So we started with a preview of the communication audit. Mrs. Hecht shared an early preview of data born out of our community communications audit, We reviewed trending themes that have begun to emerge from the data and also talked about ways to look at the data when the survey closes to the public on Friday. So since our committee meeting, the survey has closed, actually. So, we will get more information about that. Policy review. Several policies are slated for approval on tonight's board of agenda. The committee reviewed these policies in advance. We raised questions and discussed them during the meeting. Some of these discussions were prompted by a recent policy alert provided by our policy provider, Strauss Esme, while others were part of our ongoing policy audit and continuous improvement efforts. The committee recommends that the full board approve these policies. And then on the district goals update, Mr. Arlington and Mrs. Hecht provided updates on the progress of 2 district goals, which one being the policy audit and the communications audit being the second. Both initiatives remain on track. A public presentation on both governance-related goals, communications audit, and the policy audit will be shared with the public in April. For personnel updates, Mr. Arlington provided an update on the Millburn Middle School principal search. To date, the district has received 70 applicants and the interview process is underway. A recommendation will be brought forth to the committee and plenary Board of Ed in the upcoming weeks with an anticipated July 1st start date. And under miscellaneous, the committee also discussed the development of a formal process for middle school and other ad hoc student clubs that are not part of Schedule C contractual stipends, but may offer meaningful value to the school community. Mr. Arlington will bring forward a draft process to our next committee meeting designed to expand student opportunities while ensuring a consistent standard operating procedure and adherence to appropriate legal and participation guidelines. The committee adjourned at 6:30 p.m. Respectfully submitted.
Thank you very much. And now for a real highlight of the evening, the student report.
Good evening. I hope everyone enjoyed the long and extended weekend we had and got some time to enjoy the snow. On Monday, March 2nd, our week of inclusion begins, and students can look forward to a variety of activities celebrating our diversity and community throughout the week. Tomorrow, the 26th, the high school will host the annual Youth Art Celebration, which will showcase student artwork from across all Millburn schools. Viewing begins at 3 p.m., and we strongly encourage members of the community to attend and support our student artists. Finally, as Dr. Diskin said, the high school has opened their sale of tickets to the Addams Family, which has performances on March 13th, 14th, and 15th. We encourage all to attend and enjoy this performance.
Millburn Athletics have had a great stretch of competition as seen in the McMullen Cup Championship from the boys ice hockey team who capped off an undefeated tournament run with a 4-0 shutout in the finals. Boys basketball continued its dominant season, improving to 21-4, capturing the division title, and celebrating senior Chase Plotkin becoming Millburn's all-time leading scorer. Girls basketball added 3 more wins to bring their total to 17 on the season. Both fencing teams advanced in the NJSIAA South State Tournament, with girls fencing earning a 19-8 opening round record and boys fencing advancing to the state semifinals. Multiple fencers from both teams qualified for the individual state tournament. Bowling earned a sectional tournament victory and evened its record at 9-9, while wrestling delivered a commanding 63-2 win to move to 10-7 overall. Thank you and have a great evening.
Wonderful job. Thank you guys so much. Mr. Connolly, that's a tough act to follow.
It sure is. Good evening, everyone. Standing ovation for Millburn High School senior Olivia Schindler. Olivia won first place in the 2016 concerto competition hosted by the prestigious United States Marine Band, the President's Own. She will perform with the United States Marine Chamber Orchestra in April. This extraordinary honor is compounded by her acceptance to the National Youth Orchestra of the United States of America, the NYO USA, a top youth ensemble that performs at Carnegie Hall and tours internationally. Congratulations to Olivia on this remarkable national achievement. Celebrating Washington School. Washington School has been designated, or has been named a Distinguished Kindness School, an honor that reflects the district's commitment to social emotional learning, kindness, and inclusivity. This achievement is a result of Washington students leading by example and the staff reinforcing positive behavior through the Howell Award. We specifically thank Dr. Richardson and Ms. Lowe for their leadership. SEL Week. Next week, Millburn schools will participate in the Social Emotional Learning Week, coinciding with Read Across America. This provides the perfect opportunity to focus on building essential soft skills for life, such as handling stress, maintaining focus, and making responsible choices. The official 2026 theme is Skills for Community, Skills for Career. Read Across America Week, as mentioned, also taking place next week. Read Across America Week offers a variety of school activities designed to fuel our students' imaginations and foster a lifelong love of reading. Youth Art Month, a little tongue-tied there, the Youth Art Month. Join us in 2026 for the Youth Art Celebration tomorrow, February 26, 2026 at Millburn High School. Student artwork will be displayed from 3 p.m. followed by performances by the music and dance departments between 6 and 8 p.m., showcasing the creativity and talent of our Millburn students. Respectfully submitted, John Conley.
Thank you so much. Now we will move on to public comments. Please state your name and address for the record. Public comments will be limited to 3 minutes, and responses and comments will be posted to the district website before the next board meeting or within 10 school days. Any comments to start?
There we go. Hi. Danielle Green, Millburn Education President. First, I want to congratulate Arna. I had her in class. Amazing student, individual, and so talented. So congratulations. Yeah, you're amazing. And also to Olivia. I had Olivia for 2 years in a row, another amazing kid coming out of Millburn, and all the students. I did want to just come up and show my appreciation to Dr. Diskin's decision yesterday to prioritize not only the safety of students and the community, but the staff. Many of us travel from almost an hour away. I know it's not an easy decision, so I just wanted to point that out, that your decision doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you.
How's that? Ooh, that's much better. Well, good. You get to hear me when I thank you. I want to thank each member of the BOE for your service to the town. I really appreciate that yours is a challenging position for each of you. It's a lot of work. And I respect greatly your desire to provide better playing fields for our residents. As a softball coach, I know the frustration of an unplayable field. It is the impression of the Environmental Commission that the Board of Ed has not yet fully examined the possibility of using Open Space Trust Fund money to improve the natural grass fields that already exist at Millburn High School. In case that impression is correct, I'm here to urge you to please do so. On February 20th, the Millburn Environmental Commission adopted a resolution urging the Township Committee and the Board of Ed to stop funding synthetic turf field projects and instead prioritize safe, non-toxic natural grass fields. I sent that resolution to each of you tonight earlier. The resolution points to the original purpose of New Jersey's Green Acres program to support recreation and conservation, and notes growing concern in Trenton and elsewhere that millions of dollars in those funds have gone recently toward installing artificial turf fields. The Environmental Commission here in town pioneered the establishment of the Open Space Trust Fund We did not do so that that money could go towards plastic fields. The whole point of that was nature, and when we did presentations around the town, that's what everybody wanted to know. That's what everybody wanted. The Environmental Commission, in that resolution, we highlight a range of health and environmental concerns tied to synthetic turf. These include extreme surface heat that increase risks of heat-related illnesses, turf burns, special injuries that people don't get when they play on grass, including a number of lower body injuries, and warnings from public health experts, including pediatric environmental health specialists, about potential chemical exposures. The resolution also references pending state legislation that would restrict or prohibit the use of public funds for artificial turf projects because of these concerns, and also about microplastics, PFAS, which many of you know are forever chemicals that are present in huge amounts on the, and other environmental and public health risks. I also sent each member of the Board of Ed a 20-year economic analysis done by Greg Lemberg, an engineer who had based his work on a similar proposal in Westfield, where he lives. In Westfield, the voters resoundingly rejected artificial turf when it was brought to a referendum. His analysis shows that it's not only healthier for us all, but actually a good deal less expensive if we hire a grass field manager and make the best we can of the grass fields that we currently have. It's much less expensive, much healthier for our kids. Anyway, thanks so much for your time, and Mr. Lemberg happens to be here, and I'd like to give him a chance to say hello. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. As Bill said, my name is Greg Lemberg. I live at 528 Grove Street in Westfield. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I'm here because I do have concerns about the negative environmental and human health impacts of the proposed artificial turf field here at Millburn High School. As Bill said, a similar project was proposed in Westfield a few years ago. A number of residents who had environmental, health, and cost concerns about the project voiced those concerns to the Board of Ed and Town Council at their respective meetings, and wrote letters to the editor of the local newspapers. We reached out to health experts, certified sports field managers, and Beyond Plastics, to name a few, and conveyed what we learned to the decision makers. We changed a few minds on both the Board of Ed and the Town Council, but unfortunately not enough to stop the project. When the Town Council voted to approve an $11.8 million bond ordinance to fund the project in 2023, we petitioned for a referendum. Dozens of residents went door to door, collected 2,800 signatures in just 19 days. The project was defeated at the polls by a 12-point margin. A similar but smaller project in Scotch Plains went through the same process that year. Residents petitioned for a referendum. They collected 2,000 signatures, and the project was defeated at the polls by a whopping 44-point margin. I suspect that residents of Millburn may have similar misgivings about this proposed project. There are ways to renovate and maintain natural grass fields to improve playing conditions and increase playing time for a fraction of the cost of an artificial turf field. The total cost of ownership over time for a natural grass field will always be millions of dollars less than artificial turf. I implore you to consider upgrading your natural grass fields before destroying acres of a natural ecosystem and replacing it with tens of thousands of pounds of plastic carpeting and hundreds of thousands of pounds of ground-up used tires. The plastic and crumb rubber will end up as microplastics in our water, air, and soil, and eventually in all of us. Speak to certified sports field managers about the benefits that they can offer for improving and maintaining all of your athletic fields. Simple maintenance practices like frequent aeration, overseeding, periodic sod replacement in high traffic areas, and soil analysis to determine needed amendments can all be implemented quickly. Design improvements such as drainage and irrigation can improve performance dramatically. Thank you for your attention. I really do hope you consider what I have to say.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi. My name is Nitya. I have kids in the Wyoming School District. I'm also speaking on the topic of artificial turf being proposed. I have an 11-year-old and a 6-year-old that are both in sports, and it raises high concerns, imagining that they will be using these fields, and hence the effort coming up here. What's known is that as a fact that artificial turfs contribute to 15% of microplastics in water bodies. Huge environmental concern. Being in sustainability field myself, this is important, but what is sustainability without health? Of concern is health impact due to off-gassing of these plastic turf materials, causing impacts to being endocrine disruptors, known carcinogens, and a slew of other aspects. While the Board of Education makes tremendous efforts to make smart kids from our schools, let's also match the efforts for their long-term health and well-being. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jeffrey Feld. I live in the Poet section. Based on comments and what I've heard, first, I hope in your new business that you do take efforts to maybe pass a resolution asking the state to revisit their policy about snow days. We've seen that we should have the virtual option, which does not exist. I raised this, I think, 2 meetings ago, and now we know that we lost a vacation day because of the storm we just had. I'm glad about the presentation. I'm also very proud that this board tonight recognized the importance of a broad education. That it's not just what happens in the classroom, how many people go to AP classes. The arts are important. And it's also glad for different activities. The reason I say this, in the last couple of weeks, I've been going to various seminars. The State Bar Association is recognizing the importance of attorneys to get involved in defending democracy. And they all talk about de Tocqueville. And when de Tocqueville visited America like in 1840s, he noticed that we were a community of participation, that we had to avoid what COVID did, where everyone's going to silos, that we had to make sure that our students understand that their education, and I always use the word civics, is participating, and that we should emphasize. I'm very proud that we talked about that tonight. This past weekend, I went to the paper mill. I saw Come From Away. It was a great production. The reason I raised that, because over the years we always talk about our video lab, that we're coming up in September to the 20th anniversary of the horror that occurred on September 11th. And I think it might be really prudent that some of the high school students, and even the elementary students and middle school students, create an oral history of what this community did. There were many parents that did not come home that day. My wife was in the World Trade Center. She came home. What my children experienced that day. There are people in this community whose brothers and sisters were on the plane. There are people that never went back to work because they witnessed the planes crashing into the World Trade Center. There are people that got diseases because they worked downtown. But I was called because one resident died. The rec department called me out of retirement to help out. That's what the community does. And I think we have an opportunity for the students, because it's interesting, there are teachers that are beginning their careers. I've met teachers who were students in the system at that time. It'd be really interesting the reflections of what that day was like. If you recall, that morning was one of the most beautiful mornings in the fall mornings. What we existed and how the community came together, we have an opportunity, as Noel, using your language, you're proud to be a member of this community. That was a moment 25 years ago that everyone came together. And I think we should recognize that with our students. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Any other comments?
We're going to need a battery. My name is Tom Lawton. I am the transportation supervisor. I just want to take a moment to thank Dr. Diskin, Mr. Connolly, Mr. Stars, and the board for supporting me in my job to transport students safely within our community. And to the public, I don't take this job lightly. I never have. I've been doing this a long time. This is my 24th year. As some of you may not know, I used to run Barker Bus Company, and then I came here to the district in 2013. I left for a little while, came back right after Busmageddon, and I am proud that I'm the reason you haven't had a Busmageddon in the last 9 years. However, I do not bend the rules much. I try not to. I try not to be a hypocrite. It is the reason that I help teach the Rutgers courses to be transportation supervisors. I am the Northern Regional Director for the Transportation Supervisors of New Jersey. And everyone that follows in my footsteps, I want them to do the job the exact same way that I am doing it to keep students safe. School bus drivers transport 26 million kids daily in the United States with over 500,000 school buses. And in these storms that we've just had, I didn't have a single phone call, a single email, or a single problem from a driver in all this snow. So a big shout out to our drivers who keep your students safe. My assistant, Mr. Walls, who is also the district registrar, we work tirelessly. Some of you know I answer emails 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning if I'm up, which I usually am. But thank you to the board and to the administration for helping me support our students.
Thank you, Mr. Lawton. It's been a pleasure to work with you through several of these last events and really appreciate your dedication to our students and their well-being. And with that, if there are no other comments, I would like to open up the discussion for the agenda items that are listed, the vote items that are listed. Any comments or questions from the board members? Fantastic. All right. Could I have a motion and a second for the instruction agenda items listed? Mr. Farashudin, Ms. Shivani? Any discussion on those items? Fantastic. Mr. Stars, could you do the roll call, please?
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Huang,
Yes.
Ms. Longley Richards,
I'm voting yes for all, but carving myself out. I'm going to go ahead and recuse myself on that.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Moving on, could I have a motion and a second for the personnel agenda item? Ms. Longley Richards, Mr. Finkelstein. Any discussion on the personnel report? Great. Mr. Stars, if you could do roll call, please.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Huang,
Yes.
Ms. Longley Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Dr. Diskin, would you like to add anything?
Yes, I would. I just want to take a moment to recognize 2 outstanding teachers that will be retiring. Ms. Denise Schaefer, elementary teacher at Washington for grade 5, after 22 years of service in the district. And Ms. Cynthia Procopio, our art teacher at Glenwood School, retirement after 25 years of service. Congratulations, and we wish them well in their retirement.
Congratulations to both of them on hopefully a phenomenal retirement. Business agenda items. Could I please have a motion and a second for the business agenda items? Mr. Farashudin, Mr. Bigman, any discussion on those items? Excellent. Roll call, please.
Ms. Longley Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Huang,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Could Could I have a motion and a second for the special services agenda items? Ms. Longley Richards? Mr. Finkelstein? Thank you. Any discussion on those items? Great. Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Huang,
Yes.
Ms. Longley Richards,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second for the policy agenda items, please? Mr. Farashudin, Ms. Shivani? Any discussion on those? Excellent. Mr. Stars, roll call, please.
Mr. Casson,
Yes.
Mr. Farashudin,
Yes.
Mr. Finkelstein,
Yes.
Ms. Huang,
Yes.
Ms. Longley Richards,
Yes.
Mr. Bigman,
Yes.
Ms. Shivani,
Yes.
Ms. Speltz.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you. Any old business?
I'm not sure if this is old or new, but I didn't hear the acknowledgement of the South Mountain School Science Fair at this meeting, and maybe we could get the results for the next meeting. But they did have that on February 4th, and I think it's a great example of collaboration between the high school, which is the Science Club, supports the judging process, and the South Mountain School, which, of course, the kids do an amazing job with that. So.
That would be wonderful to have to share next time. Absolutely.
If I may, I just wanted to give a wonderful shout out to our Deerfield School PTO for their gift and donation of the AV presentation system at Deerfield. We really appreciate your support and thank you for this generous donation.
Way to go, Deerfield PTO. Wonderful. Any other old business? Any other new business? All right, then I will kick that off. I would like to discuss the emergency day closure policy. We do have a policy about all of this, and we do have a calendar which was approved by the Board of Ed on October 28th, 2024. We have to have 180 school days where the kids are in their seats. And then we can have additional emergency closure days built in. This year in that calendar, we had 2 additional days built in, with any additional needed days coming starting March 30th through the spring break. In looking at the other calendar days that would be available, other than that, they are all allotted to days that are pretty important to all of us. So March 20th is Eid. March 30th through the April 2nd is spring break. April 3rd is Good Friday. May 25th is Memorial Day. June 18th is the last day of classes and graduation. June 19th is Juneteenth. So I just wanted to open up the floor and talk about what our possibilities were. I think we're pretty much set with what we need to do, but I would like to open it up to discussion and questions, if anyone has any.
Well, I mean, I personally would be open to changing the dates on some of the holidays that were mentioned, but I think that, and I would ask Dr. Diskin and Mr. Connolly if this is correct, but this is in part discussed with the unions of the staff, the MEA, and the executive committee, and I'm not sure we have the leeway to make changes at this stage. If we do, I would be open to entertaining either Good Friday or Juneteenth as a possible substitute date. So is there any leeway?
So the board has the ability to change a calendar upon their, you are the ones that establish that calendar. The fact that there were only 2 snow days built in, unfortunately, we didn't realize this was going to be such an awful winter. I guess I have 2 comments. One, just to be clear, the calendars are based on the 180 days. They're not based by hours. So I want to just make sure that you realize that it's not the amount of hours on a given day. For example, when we have a delayed opening or an early dismissal, we're required to have the kids in their seats for a minimum of 4 hours. And that does not include a lunch break, does not include recess or any of that. What's that?
Passing time as well.
And passing time does not count. So So both a full day of school and a quote-unquote partial day of school count towards that 180 days requirement. So when the Board of Ed in 2024 approved those calendars, they included two unforeseen circumstances. And that's not just snow, right? That could be, you know, a boiler breaks or bees in the belfry or, you know, what have you. So I just want the board to realize that if we made changes to the calendar, you could do so. What I want to remind you is that these calendars were approved, they were out there, and that written in black and white on the bottom was when they're coming back. But having said that, you can make determinations upon that. You know, in terms of Juneteenth, that is a federal holiday. So I can't recommend that. That would be something that you would have to make that decision on. And then I believe Good Friday is also a very important religious, you know, for those people that are celebrating Easter. You know, so if you'd have to consider all of them. And what I would say is that when the district establishes a calendar and they give days off for such religious groups or those things, you can't overlook one for another. So those are just some considerations, I would say. You know, and that would be completely up to you. What I would say, though, is my comment regarding the full day versus a partial day. You know, the board could make the recommendation that they would like to see, say, March 30th as an early dismissal day of some sort that just kind of gives both. You have to remember that we are required by the state of New Jersey to meet those obligations for students, and we are at the wire. I also want the board to be cautious is that I do hear that there might be another snowstorm coming next week. So I wouldn't want you to see you jump the gun and make a decision, but I am open to conversation. I think you all should be open to conversation, and clearly we would work with the union to do that. And I think trying to come up with the best solution. But I need to reiterate that it was on the calendar, it is in black and white, and the board did approve it. So it would be up to you to change that, to make that change, those recommendation changes.
Thank you. Mr. Farshun?
Yeah, I think, Dr. Diskin, that's really well put. The calendar is published ahead of time. You know, we didn't know this was going to happen the last, I don't know, 3-4 years. I don't think we got any snow at all. And now we might have another one next week. So, you know, I think what I'm trying to understand is there a lot of concern from teachers or parents who may have made plans on that week, you know, that spring break week? I'm just trying to understand, what are we trying to solve right now?
I'm not sure if you've also got, I've gotten a number of messages about it. Just to be perfectly blunt, it is unfortunate. A lot of people plan vacations, plan trips for April break, and it's not fun. It's not great to have that interrupted in that kind of way. So it's unfortunate, and we'd like to make sure that everybody knows that this isn't something that we just threw out there. It's something that was well considered, that was thought through, and that, you know, we're going to take everything into account and make sure we make the best decision for our students and our staff. Mr. Finkelstein, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just the other possible, I guess, would have been going beyond the 19th, which I know is the long weekend, and that was, you know, decision not to do that in June, yeah. And those last few days are half days, to have a half day Monday or Tuesday following the June 19th weekend. But then I also remember you can't have graduation unless you have the 180 days under your belt. So we don't solve for that problem unless we move graduation, which would then change a lot of schedules. And I don't know if it's possible to move graduation back a few days. So yeah, sorry, I thought of that right when I was about to say it. But that's the limitation, right, on going longer, which would have been perhaps an option. I would say also, if we have to go multiple days into the vacation because we keep getting snow, that Passover, I think, is Wednesday. So you're starting to run into a religious holiday there for a fair amount of people. So you can use Monday and maybe Tuesday, but now you're starting to have a problem too. So.
Absolutely.
I would like the board to also consider the suggestion by community member Mr. Feld about putting our voice and echoing the voice about getting the governor and the state to approve remote learning on snow days. I know that New York City has this because this came up in the news quite a bit over the last several days. And if New York City can do it, we should be able to do it too. So we should consider a formal letter if the board would approve that, or Dr. Diskin would be willing to send it. I think a formal letter to the governor echoing our support for that kind of change in policy, I think would be a good move. Obviously, that doesn't solve for this year, but there are future years.
Yeah, that is the idea, that there are future years. Yes, absolutely. So no, I think that's a great idea that we should promote that. We'll see what the best policy is for us to do that.
And just so you know, I do know that several New Jersey groups have put that forward, but it, can't hurt to hear from Millburn, for sure.
Of course, yes, Mr. Finkelstein.
Just another thought idea. What counts as graduation? I mean, if we have the whole ceremony and we hand an empty envelope to the kids, and then the diplomas are given on the following Monday or Tuesday. And
You're
everyone has to
really
show up.
stretching it, aren't
Yeah,
you?
stretching it. But
Well, I think there's also
there's a celebration and there's the official. I don't know. There's two different things. You could have-
I do think there's also, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are some level of requirements of what attendance would be. And I imagine that one day of school on June 22nd may not be super well attended.
Unpopular for students, you could possibly do a Saturday, but again, you're really but I'm just saying there are only so many days in a week.
Ms. Shivani.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely keep hearing concerns that if we cut short the spring break, especially for the seniors, they are fully in the senioritis mode, right? And they want to be able to not have to miss school. And spring break is that time when a lot of families have made plans, and I think you get some kind of senior privileges with regards to final exams, and if you miss more school days than you, so I mean, if to the extent that an extra day is added, maybe there can be some flexibility there from like a high school perspective on the number of days that students are allowed to miss. Having said that, I really don't have a solution. Maybe a half day. My recommendation was going to be after, at the end of the school year.
I think there's some great opportunities for discussion for this, and I think we should maybe postpone any specific proposals until we see what this coming weekend brings us. Because I think that would be a different discussion if we had to make up days versus one as well. Are there any other follow-up comments or questions? Yes, Ms. Longley Richards.
Well, I just wanted to point out that we are not the only ones in this boat. Our spring break in the district I work in starts on Good Friday and goes through the following week, but now we're going back on April, whatever that Friday is, after Good Friday. So we're all kind of in the same boat. I think most districts over the past couple of years, we're not getting a lot of snow days. We were getting days given back to us, so why put them in the calendar? We just happened to get a snowy winter this one. So I think it's just one of those things that some of us just might have to deal with.
Absolutely. All right, good to all suffer together, I guess. If there are no other, Mr. Casson?
It's all right. I just want to say I'm fully supportive of the snow days we did take. I think they were all appropriate, and the delayed openings were all appropriate. That was all well executed and well thought out. And second, I fully agree that we should see what's coming before we make other plans. And third, I don't actually have a problem with the idea of opening up the school on a Saturday for a half day for like some appropriate day in the middle of the school year, not at the end when people aren't going to pay attention, but like before exam periods is like a study day. It wouldn't be the end of the world. So.
Ms. Wong?
Yeah, I just want to take this chance to say thanks and also give my best wishes to those two teachers and who are retiring. And I would like to thank for their contributions and best wishes to them. And we have the best teachers, and I hope and teachers see Millburn as their destination school district. That's I think that's that's the reputation we have. Yeah, and we will keep this and keep the best teachers. And that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions about the calendar and the emergency days? All right. Okay, so we'll do the next round of public comments. Same rules as before. Please state your name and address for the record, and they will be limited to 3 minutes.
All right. Jeffrey Feld, Poet Section. When the gentleman from Westfield was speaking about the right of referendum, I just want the board to understand that Millburn does not have that right. We're not a Faulkner Act community yet. And if you've been following the Charter Study Commission, one of the recommendations is if we do become subject to the Faulkner Act, that remedy, that being the petition for referendum, would exist. But in this current situation that we have, that is it's off the table. And I just want that to be clarified for the community, because I don't know if the whole community understands that small point.
Much appreciated. Thank you, Mr. Feld.
Hi, Danielle Green again. I definitely want to thank the board for bringing up the snow days and not voting on it tonight. I think it's important to look at getting more information, seeing what's coming. Definitely having MEA part of the conversation, as it impacts a lot of our staff as well. So I do urge to wait on a decision. I think as we speak about calendar coming up, and I know we've had conversations, putting back in 3 days, I think is important. MEA is fully in agreement with approving and sending a letter for virtual days, so anything we're able to do on our end, we will do as well. Just some thoughts off the top of my head, thinking about whatever day that is. Can it be a community outreach day, an SEL day? Maybe we bring schools together or grade levels together. We would love to partner with the board administration to come up with something, and that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Any board member comments? Wonderful. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Farris-Shuden, Mr. Finkelstein. All in favor? I would put my hand up twice if I could. Meeting adjourned.